Welcome back to CryptosRus. I am George. We're all George. Guess who just bought another $350 million worth of Bitcoin? 350. This is not like a normal DCA, like, $1,000, $1 million. No, $350 million. So let's talk about this huge buy from Saylor and Microstrategy and what else to expect. Let's do this. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And the market bell has just rung. Hey, it's still working. Best bell in the industry. Bitcoin is still holding about 30,000, though a little bit lower than yesterday, but not too much lower. Overall, it's just holding very strong. And now we may know who's been buying up all the Bitcoin, right? Ever since the BlackRock announcement, right around here, boom, right? And we've been holding so steady, so steady. So we may now know who that is, or I don't know, at least part of it, right? Part of it, because we know that, of course, BlackRock filed for Bitcoin ETF. Now analysts are saying there's about a 50% chance, 50% chance. That's pretty massive. Before, it was probably like 0% because no one thought that Gary or SEC is going to allow a Bitcoin spot ETF. But 50%, that's pretty good. And keep in mind, BlackRock is not the only one. There's a lot of fund managers and companies that are looking to come out. Fidelity announced they're doing a spot ETF. And of course, others like ARK Invest also has theirs. And there's just a ton of them, right? And look at all these other big boys, like the biggest banks like JP Morgan, Morgan Stanley, Goldman Sachs, BNY Mellon, Invesco, Bank of America. They're either doing Bitcoin ETFs too or doing some kind of service, okay, like crypto trading or custodian or something. They're all involved. When you have $27 trillion of assets under management, just a little bit, just a little tiny bit, 5% of that, if 5% went into Bitcoin, okay, just 5% of all those assets went in Bitcoin, that's around $310,000 per Bitcoin. That would still give the market cap of Bitcoin, it would bring it up substantially, but it would still be half of gold. So Bitcoin has to surpass like 660,000 to surpass the market cap of gold. So think about that. How much potential is there? Okay, it's wild. It's wild. But you know what? BlackRock not only is getting involved with spot ETF, they're also involved with Saylor and MicroStrategy. BlackRock is one of the biggest holders of MicroStrategy. So you could argue that they already been buying for a long time, not only spot Bitcoin, but also buying companies that are holding a lot of Bitcoin. But today it was announced that MicroStrategy purchased another 12,333 Bitcoin for approximately $347 million. I just rounded up, yes, $350 million. Okay, average price actually lower than where it is right now. Usually, Saylor buys high and then announces it later. I don't know why, but recently he's been buying low, so that's good. So he's in a profit already. At an average price of $28,136, right? Now MicroStrategy holds $152,333. Average price of $29,668, and total $4.52 billion. That's a lot. That's a lot of Bitcoin, right? Michael Saylor is preparing for the future. All this talks about, well, Bitcoin going up to 250,000, but what about what we just talked about? What if when Bitcoin goes to 310,000, 600,000, $1 million, right? That's going to make Michael Saylor basically one of the richest men on earth. He's already there. He's a billionaire, but just go put him up there. He may become the first trillionaire on Earth. It's crazy. It's crazy. But goes back to my point. This may be the reason why Bitcoin had a huge jump, because you have just one entity that has bought more than $250 million worth of Bitcoin. Who knows who else is buying so much behind the scenes? It can't just be Saylor and MicroStrategy. BlackRock and Fidelity, all these guys, they may be buying it via OTC market. No one knows, right? But it shows you how scarce Bitcoin is. People just don't realize it yet. Bitcoin is the scarcest asset that we have, and we don't want to let all the big whales and institutions gobble up all of it. We want some for ourselves, okay? So keep that in mind, because there's just so little really out there, and none of the new Bitcoins being released by the miners are hitting the markets. I mean, I take that back. Let me rephrase. None of the new Bitcoins being mined by the miners are hitting the public because they are hoarding them. Okay, so everyone's fighting for what already exists now, and there's just not that much. There's just not that much. And I've showed this before, and it makes perfect sense why the supply, Bitcoin supply, has been dropping ever since 2020. Okay, it's always been on the rise. Since the inception of Bitcoin, exchange reserves have been going up. But why all of a sudden it started turning in 2020? Why did it start coming down? That's almost exactly the point when Michael Saylor and MicroStrategy decided on their Bitcoin strategy and started accumulating Bitcoin. That is it. Michael Saylor bought his first Bitcoin around $8,000. That's like exactly around that point. So I believe this is happening because of the institutions. Because they started buying up via OTC behind the scenes. That's why it's been dropping and will continue to drop more and more and more. I think that's exactly the reason why people don't understand, why did it start dropping? It's because you have institutions that hold hundreds of thousands of Bitcoins now, including Grayscale, who owns 640,000 Bitcoins. Right? You put that with Saylor's, put a few other, I mean, we're talking about over millions of Bitcoins being removed. That's exactly the reason. Okay, so don't let all the big boys buy up everything. Don't do it. Save some for yourself. I guess that's my point. Speaking of Grayscale, GBTC, their premium discount from, well, before there was a premium. Now there's a discount, okay? Versus GBTC is supposed to be tracking the price of Bitcoin right now. There's still a 33% discount. But that is the narrowest gap in over a year. It used to be in the 40s, okay? But demand is coming up. The discount may be narrowing. I mean, if you're thinking, well, what does it matter? Can you redeem for Bitcoins? No, you can't. But it just shows you demand for Bitcoin or Bitcoin-related stocks, in this case a trust, is heating up. It's barely ticked up, but there's a lot more coming. But I'd rather hold MicroStrategy stock than GBTC, to be honest. MicroStrategy stock is the closest thing we have to a spot Bitcoin ETF at this point, before one comes out. What else is going on? As for Bitcoin itself, besides being gobbled up, CryptoQuant says it's very, very unlikely to hit bottom again, meaning going back to 15,000. I agree. He's using this MVRVZ scale, which this is what it looks like. And I'm going to remove my camera. So you could see, basically this shows how Bitcoin hits a bottom and then it stays there for a while. And then it breaks out, and when it breaks out, Bitcoin starts rallying. Okay, so that's really what it comes down to. And this shows, yes, that we have come out from a bottom, right? Every single cycle, you have a bottom point, you have a consolidation point, you have the low point of a 4-year cycle, and then afterwards you start a new cycle. This is why I argue we started a new cycle. Okay, we're in another bull cycle already. It's just that we're at the very beginning, not the tail end. But yes, we have started a new cycle already, a bullish one. I call every cycle bullish because they are. They are. Here's one kind of showing the same thing. You know, like I could show a million of these graphs, and they're all showing very, very, very positive things about Bitcoin right now. I mean, because there's no other way. There's no other way. You could go through all the past cycles and all the past bottom points, and you look at the recoveries of them, right? We're mimicking that. I mean, there's no other way to describe it. You look at what happened in 2015, you look at what happened in 2019. I mean, there's so many similarities. History does not repeat, but it tends to rhyme, and that's exactly what's happening right now. Okay, there's no way to dispute that. Even the bears, there's nothing you can say. Bitcoin is in recovery mode right now. Okay, and it's pretty obvious that institutions and Saylor continue to buy up all the Bitcoin they can while things are still cheap. And in the future, they won't be as cheap as they are now. So the time to buy is now, right? DCA along the way, DCA and HODL, and that's the ultimate Bitcoin strategy, right? So there you go. There you go. All right, what else is there? Some exchange news and FTX news. SBF is trying to get his criminal charges dismissed, and judge says no. You're not gonna get off that easy. So he's been trying what he can. Basically he's trying really hard to try to dismiss any criminal charges, but at this point there just seems like no way in hell that's going to happen. So he will stand trial in, I think, September or October. So it's getting sooner and sooner. But the funny thing is, there are real talks now to reboot FTX because the current CEO has been doing, I guess, somewhat of a good job finding all these funds that's been spread out through 100 entities on purpose. So it does seem like FTX or SBF before were doing some shenanigans, okay? But they recover most of it, and if they recover more, they will reboot FTX as an international exchange, not as a U.S. exchange, not as a FTX.US. So it'll be quite interesting what actually happens there. Yeah, it's wild. I don't know if at least they need to rebrand it. At least they need to call it something else, right? I don't know who would trust FTX after they reboot. But yeah, Voyager, they somewhat opened up withdrawals. Okay, so I logged into, and most of you guys have. If you have any crypto on Voyager, you can go in right now. They have unlocked a third of it where you can actually withdraw, but when you put in withdrawal, it's in impending mode, so it's not actually withdrawing, but it makes you feel like you could actually withdraw some of it out. But yeah, that's the latest with Voyager, and according to this, they paid $1.1 million in legal fees. Lawyers love to work on these cases because they get to bill $2,000 an hour. $2,000 an hour. Same thing with FTX. They're charging like $2,000 an hour, and by the time it's done, it's going to cost the company like hundreds of millions in legal fees probably. It's wild. It's wild. All right, and then KuCoin. A lot of you guys are KuCoin fans. KuCoin is going to introduce mandatory KYC. This is no surprise. They're being sued by, Southern District of New York or New Jersey. No, New York. They have operated in the U.S. for a long time without KYC. In fact, even if you wanted to do it, they won't allow you to, right? But they have been limiting their services. So your withdrawal amount is very low. I think it's 1 BTC now. And there are certain tokens traded on KuCoin that you can't access. So, not a big surprise. Not a big surprise. But there are still others. that are not as restrictive yet. But someone like KuCoin, which is one of the largest exchanges on earth, no surprise to them. And then lastly, in the US, I saw this. Gemini, they must be desperate or something. Recently, all I see them talk about is Pepe. And now they decided it was a good idea to come out with derivatives so that now you could do 100x leverage on Pepe. And then it came out with this, of course, this meme video. I don't know if this is a good idea or not. Gemini has always been seen as a serious exchange, okay? Very strict with security, very strict because it operates in New York, right? And they're still one of the major exchanges in the US. And now they're just going all degen and offering 100x leverage on Pepe. I mean, what could go wrong, right? I mean, Pepe recently just saw a 50% dip. Anyone that's doing 100x leverage would have been wiped out long ago. I just find this to be really weird, and it's not fitting for Gemini. There's plenty of other exchanges that offer 100x leverage on Pepe. Gemini should not be one of them. Anyways, just thought I'd bring that up. Anyways, the U.S. market today is looking pretty bleak, very red indeed. As for economic news, none today. We're getting a break today, but tomorrow we will be getting Q1 GDP numbers and jobless claims and pending home sales. So tomorrow we're going to get some economic data. And then also we're going to get a core PCE price index inflation reading on Friday. So tomorrow and Friday we may get some crucial economic data. As for overall market, went down slightly today. Bitcoin is still above 30,000. It's trying to hold, but Ethereum still above 1,800. Overall, it's not a bad day. Consolidation day. All right, let's do some Q&A. Looks like Jerome Powell speaking live in Portugal. Maybe that's the reason why there's a little scare right now, but I mean, what else can he say? He said enough. He said enough. People want him to reveal whether or not there's going to be another rate hike, and he's not going to say anything about that. I don't know. Whenever Powell speaks, it's generally pretty hawkish, no matter what. Even if he's trying to say the most dovish things, it still comes out very hawkish. Hey, look at this. As drug makers race to develop the next big weight loss pill, I would like to participate in that. All right, let's see if I missed anything. B Miles, give us your honest thoughts on if altcoins will be banned in the US. No. Simple. No. Putin is already a trillionaire. Yeah. I mean, if you look at assets and how much he controls, yes. I mean, like on paper. Okay, so Saylor will be among the men that will hold $1 trillion of assets. Let's see. Papa Bear, with fresh retail access via ETF, do you see volatility increasing or more price stability? More price stability. The larger the volume, the more Bitcoins being held, volatility gets lower, right? So more price stability. The larger Bitcoin becomes, Yeah, it's going to be less volatile due to buys and sells, right? So, yeah, I think there's going to be more price stability. What's going to happen to LTC when it halves? Nothing. Nothing's going to happen. You know, I was looking at Charlie Lee's Twitter recently. He stopped making posts. He only retweets. He doesn't say anything anymore. Yeah. You know, this Elon versus Zuckerberg thing is real. And I think, I don't know how good Zuck is, but you go to Lex Fridman, I don't know why. I don't know why they're all going to him, but they're sparring with him. Look at here. Lex Fridman sparred with Elon here. Okay. I'm extremely impressed with his strength, power, and skill. Right. And then here's one where he's battling out with Zuck. I don't know how all of a sudden Lex Fridman is like the main go-to trainer guy. Like, he may be good. I don't know, but he's not known to be an MMA fighter, right? He's known for his podcast, but somehow he got both Mark and Elon to be sparring with him. It's quite wild, but it does seem like this is going to happen. Dana White said he talked to both of them, and they're both very serious about fighting. Supposedly, Mark has more experience, but Elon is a much bigger man. I mean, Elon's probably like 6'2", 260 at least. I say 250, 260. Zuck is like, I don't know how tall he is, but he looks like he's no more than 180 pounds. So Elon got the size on him. But, you know, supposedly Mark's been training for a long time. But I just find it funny how they're like both going to like Lex Fridman to train rather than like, I don't know, someone that's known for fighting. Unless I'm wrong and Lex was fighting. He's a cage fighter before, which I don't think that's the case. Anyways. Off topic, but an interesting one. Did this bull market come quicker than you expected? Yes. At the beginning, I mean, if I'm honest, yes, because early beginning in January, I said I'd be very happy if Bitcoin hits 30, 35,000 by the end of this year as we lead up to the halving event, right? And we have certainly surpassed that estimate. Now my new estimate would be I'd be happy to see Bitcoin at 45 by the end of the year, but of course that could happen much faster. And it could happen soon, right? So I would say yes, overall. Elon is 6'1", 225. I'll tell you, he's not 225. I could tell you, people lie about their weight. There's no way Elon is 225. He's more like 250. But yeah, I don't know how skilled, what's Mark's size and how skilled he is. Yeah, I mean, I don't doubt you guys are like all trying to defend Lex. I don't doubt he's a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Okay, he probably is, but he's not known for cage fighting. And I'm sure there's a lot of real cage fighters or trainers, right, these guys could be going to. I just find it really funny that they chose Lex. I guess because they both have done podcasts with them, so there's a connection there, but it's just funny. I finally got my Maverick 1.5 years later. Congratulations. I just saw a TikTok video about how dealerships do not stock Mavericks, and they still charge like $30,000 over to get a Maverick for some reason. It's like Ford does not want to sell Mavericks. Mark is 5'7". Interesting. 5'7", 145. Wow, I kind of figured Mark would be like 5'10-ish, 5'10", 180. If he's like 5'7", 150, okay, versus a 6'2", 250, that's a huge weight class difference. Maverick is not a garbage pretend truck. Maverick is actually a great truck. Of course, it's not meant to be used for serious hauling. Okay, it's payload and haul and towing, of course, not serious. But if you're looking like most suburb guys, you just want a fun little truck that drives like a SUV, and you still have a bed. You have the usefulness of a bed, and you could go to Home Depot or whatever and haul like mulch and furniture or grills or whatever back there. It's great. It drives great, and it's plenty fast. It just doesn't look very good, but it's a great little truck. Max Allen says, I'm 6'3", 200 pounds, and regularly tapped by small women when I started Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Well, maybe then Mark has a chance. I don't know. That's assuming that he's been training hardcore. This fight, if it happens, it seems like it will, the pay-per-view off of this will be like $1 trillion. I know, like Floyd Mayweather's fight with Conor was like 300 million or something. If that pulled in 300 million, this fight will pull in like $1 trillion. No, I mean a billion, not trillion, billion. Seriously, I mean, who would not want to see two of the richest men on earth fighting each other in a cage match? Right? It would be wild. It might end in like 5 seconds, right? Maybe, you know, they get caught in an arm bar or something and they're done in 5 seconds. But this will bring in like $1 billion. Everyone will want to watch this. A lot of people think Elon is just a robot anyways. A robot or an alien. No. People think Mark is a robot because he's very, very similar to Data. And people think Elon is alien. So it'll be a match between a robot and an alien. So you just pick. Let's just leave this up. Looks good. Am I still long? Yes, I'm always long. That's what she said. And I'm always bullish on Bitcoin. Powell says more restriction is coming, including possibility of hikes at consecutive meetings. I mean, he just always says the same stuff. Like I said, he's always hawkish, no matter what. Even when there's no need to be hawkish, he just pretends like he has to be hawkish. Like, that's the bottom line. Organic Autos Garden. I miss being 35. I'm a little bit older than that, but I appreciate it. All right, guys, I think it's time to go when the conversation is all about this. Bottom line is Bitcoin is still holding pretty good above 30,000. Okay. We got big boys, of course, still coming in like BlackRock, but we already have a big boy, Michael Saylor, that continues to buy more and more and more Bitcoin. A huge purchase. Where does MicroStrategy get all this money? $350 million worth of Bitcoin. Absolutely huge. Okay, make sure to save some for yourself because these guys are taking it all. So while Bitcoin is still low, while it's cheap, still great time to be accumulating, DCing, and holding. All right, I will see you guys tonight, 8:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. Have a good one. Take care. Bye-bye.